Meine Freunde hier beim Gesundheitsguru. Dr. Tony Huge hat ein Video hochgeladen, dass er einen Herzinfarkt hatte, eine Herzattacke. Ja, wir schauen jetzt, ob das ganze Clickbait ist oder ob wir dem Lieben vielleicht wirklich irgendwelche Ratschläge geben können, wie er das Ganze wieder hinkriegen kann. Er ist ja, soweit ich weiß, jemand, der sich schon relativ übersäuert ernährt, ja. Und das unterstützt natürlich sowas wie Herzkrankheiten, ja. Let's go.
You know, I have to get more testing to find out whether I need a heart surgery to fix the valve or whether it's just worth it letting the valve.
The Valve, okay, also da ist quasi eine große Arterie irgendwie, eine Ader irgendwie defekt. Der Linker hier ist der Shaker ist unten verlinkt. Ja, also gönnt euch auf jeden Fall rein in die Masse.
Stay leak. I had the flu really bad. I almost died, and I didn't realize that it can damage the heart directly and indirectly. She says, okay, what medications you taking? And I said, I'm taking rosuvastatin. She goes, that's it, rosuvastatin. She's like, that has a ton of side effects.
Er hat ein spezielles Statin benutzt, ja, das war jetzt hier der Aufhänger. Ja, Freunde, also da bin ich mal gespannt, wie das jetzt hier weiter verläuft mit dem Kollegen. Es ist natürlich so, dass es auch ein bisschen so passt. Er hat sich auch mehr entwickelt in unsere Richtung, ja, also hier mit dem ganzen Bodybuilding und so und Gesundheitskram. Früher war er eher so, nur so auf so Substanzkram, Informationen, ja, heute mehr auch Health. Spannend.
My heart attack issue. I think I may have had a heart attack. At least I was having a lot of pain, a lot of pressure in my chest. I didn't have the symptoms like the numb arm and all these other symptoms, but I talked to a lot of friends that have had heart attacks, and they said that sometimes they didn't have any of those symptoms, and that the symptom of just the pressure on the chest was enough to indicate maybe having had a heart attack. So I went to the laboratory and I got all this testing done, and my
Er hat erst nur vermutet und im Labor wurde es dann richtig getestet, ja?
inflammation came out really high. So I was worried that maybe I was having
Sehr hohe Entzündungswerte, wird hier gesagt.
heart inflammation, pressure on my chest that caused a heart attack in conjunction with all the bodybuilding chemistry that I used. So what happened was I had the flu really bad. I almost died. And
Ganz starke Erkältung, meint er hier,
I
dass er fast gestorben ist.
didn't realize that it can damage the heart directly and in
Meinte ich, soll mir auch mal so ein Bart stehen lassen, wie der Tony Huge, so erst so da grau steht da, ne? Und nachher so schwarz gefärbt. Bestimmt mir stehen so ein schwarz gefärbter Bart.
directly. So it damages the lungs, and then because the lungs get damaged, the heart pressure gets backed up and it damages the heart. People can have heart attacks from lung issues also. So it probably caused damage directly to the heart because that.
Schreibt mir mal unten in die Kommentare Hashtag Übersäuerung oder Hashtag Übersäuerung existiert nicht, wenn ihr von dem Prinzip nicht überzeugt seid oder doch oder was weiß ich, ja. Weil im Endeffekt sagen ja viele, dass es immer so Zufall ist, dass man solche Krankheiten gibt, ja. Wobei auf der anderen Seite natürlich auch gewisse Studien und medizinische Arbeiten und Werke existieren, die das Ganze schon verifizieren und den anderen als Affen dastehen lassen oder als Idioten, wo aber häufig nicht drauf eingegangen wird, ja, sondern nur gesagt wird, ja, ist nicht so, aber ohne halt auf die Argumente einzugehen, das wird einfach so liegen gelassen, ohne sie zu widerlegen oder so.
That's what the virus does to the endothelial lining in the arteries and in the heart, and then cause damage to the lungs, which then cause damage to the heart. So there's no question about it. Based on the severity of the symptoms that I had and the near-death experience and my D-dimer score being over 2,500, normal being less than 500, I had the amount of clotting that someone has when they usually die from the virus.
Also Clotting, das ist, soweit ich das verstehe, so Verstopfung, ne? Was ist das? Verstopfung von Arterien. Wenn die so von Krankheiten sterben, hat er die Werte gehabt.
So I got that under control, and I always intended to get my heart back into shape. I intended to do cardio and do more and more cardio, but I never actually did the cardio. So 4.5 months went by of me doing cardio an average of 1 time per month when I should have been doing it more. So my biggest.
Was ist denn los mit ihm? Er hat einmal im Monat Cardio gemacht, für 4 Monate lang. Was ist denn mit ihm los? Ich denke, er ist Bodybuilder. War er 4 Monate lang krank oder was? Ist ja, was soll das denn gewesen sein? Was ist denn los mit ihm?
Mistake number 1 was I didn't do enough cardio. Mistake number 2 is I didn't take enough of the peptides like TB500 and BPC157, which those are growth healing peptides that people usually use for injuries, like when they tear up.
Irgendwie ist das voll lustig, dieser Hintergrund. Diese Uschi daneben, die so gar nichts sagt die ganze Zeit. Er mit seinem Bart und so. Diese Kamera ist irgendwie so virales Format, so ein bisschen. Das ist voll funny.
Bicep, we used it on Joe, we used it on, I don't know if Noel ended up using it, but I recommend it to Noel and all my other friends that have had tears around me. There's so many of them. We use it on all of them and they recover so fast. Like every doctor's like, oh my God, I can't believe how fast you recover from that. But the truth is, the TB500 is mainly made for cardiovascular disease because it allows your body to build new vascular pathways, which then brings blood pressure down and increases circulation, prevents heart attacks. So I should have been using the TB500, but I wasn't using very much. The most concerning thing about all this is...
Also die Story klingt für mich ein bisschen absurd und da wurde auch gerade so ein Produkt eingeblendet. Es könnte prinzipiell, jetzt so reiner von Logik her, auch nur ein Werbevideo sein. Ne? Es ist nicht ausgeschlossen.
I went and got a test, an echocardiogram. So this is after the heart inflammation. So first I tested my CPK and CMB, and they're pretty much off the charts. My LDH was elevated. My CPK was 1,379. Normal is less than 200. So I've got more than 5 times the normal. Maybe I've got 10 times the normal. And it says critical value. That means like dangerous, like you need to see a doctor is what they mean when they put that on the lab work. Then CKMB, that's an inflammation marker more specific to the heart tissue usually. So you have CPK can be from damage anywhere in the body. That can be from working out. But then you have CKMB, which is also elevated maybe 4 times normal. That's 4 times normal, right? That's pretty significant. So there's also potentially damage to my heart. I actually talked to a few cardiologists already, and we're going to go over that too. But then my troponin T was 6.9, which is normal. So, and I talked to a cardiologist later. He said, okay, your CPK being high, that can be from weightlifting. Your CKM...
Schreib mal unten rein, ob ich mal eine OnlyFans hochladen soll mit Dr. Tony Huge, wo wir ein Sandwich machen mit einer Influencerin. Und schreib mal rein, welche Influencerin. Yeah, man.
Be less likely to be from weightlifting, but it still could be from weightlifting or some temporary strain on the heart. Maybe doing, they're saying like, okay, maybe you did like really intense cardio too hard, but I didn't do cardio. I'm only weightlifting and my heart rate's not going that high. Like I'm not working my heart that hard. The mistake that I've been making is I'm babying my heart. I should be exercising my heart post having the flu and rebuilding the heart, but instead I've been babying it because I've been so nervous about my heart because I feel that pressure has been building. So I show these lab results to a doctor.
Hat 4 Monate lang jetzt, wie ich das verstehe, Paranoia gehabt und hat dann deswegen nicht mehr irgendwie sein Herz da mit Cardio beansprucht. Ja, voll Bullshit-mäßig. Ich glaube, die stellt die Geschwindigkeit jetzt höher, wird zu langsam hier. Nervt mich.
She says, okay, tell me all the medications you're taking. I'm like, okay, steroids, this and that. Surprisingly, she didn't think that steroids had any negative cardiovascular impact from what she's seen. Okay, that's a surprise, because usually steroids are blamed for everything, okay? She says, okay, what medications you taking? And I said, I'm taking rosuvastatin. She goes, that's it, rosuvastatin. She's like, that has a ton of side effects. And I'm like, but the side effects I'm having are with my heart, and rosuvastatin is a statin which is supposed to be for the heart. Like, that's supposed to fix my lipid panel, fix my cholesterol so that I don't have heart issues. How can a heart medication be causing me heart damage? And we've been talking in the bodybuilding community recently with more of the cutting edge chemists and coaches that we should be taking a little bit of a statin in order to offset the damage to the lipid profile that we're doing by taking the steroids. So she's like, no, watch, come off it completely and watch a lot of your symptoms and side effects will go away. Okay. And so I said, okay, well, let's get a echocardiogram, she said, to see how your heart is performing, see if there's any left ventricular hypertrophy, see if there's any...
Leute, ihr seht das, ich kriege hier mal X-Push-Benachrichtigungen, ne? Und jetzt ist nicht mal die Stoßzeit auf TikTok. Also sub da rein, ne? Heute wurden auch da Akt-Videos in Dusche hochgeladen und so. Auf ganz hot, ja. Einmal hotty.
There are problems with how it's pumping or size, or if steroids did damage to your heart. What was happening inside my heart, it's mitral valve prolapse. Prolapse means like a bending of the valve. So every time your heart pumps, in order to prevent the blood going back, you know, like when a pump happens, you have to stop where the flow came in. So you have this valve that you know, goes like this, opens and then it closes so the blood can't come back in. Opens, the blood comes in, stops the blood from coming back while it pumps out. So the
ja, irgendwie finde ich, wenn man so das betrachtet, dass die Leute sich wirklich so übersäuernd ernähren, ne? Die meisten immer sagen, ja, ne, existiert nicht, haben sich damit aber gar nicht beschäftigt oder was weiß ich und so, ne? Oder reden sich da selber irgendeine Scheiße ein, weil die selber sich was Gutes über ihre schlechten Angewohnheiten selber reinquatschen wollen. Hab schon cringe dabei. Was er jetzt hier für Leidensweg hat und einen auf Gesundheitsmager macht und so die simpelsten Prinzipien da nicht am Start hat. Irgendwie schon cringe, so. Irgendwie ist cringe, muss ich schon sagen. Ich habe schon ein bisschen Fremdschamgefühl. Was ist das für ein Level bei einem Gesundheitsmager? Das ist so das Erste, was man so wissen muss mit Übersäuerung.
Valve is bending like this, and it's causing leakage all around. There's blood leaking back into my heart. Left ventricle, ejection fraction. So this is the fraction of 100 cc or something, 100 percentage of that goes out of the heart versus what doesn't go in the heart. So like how much gets pumped in versus actually how much new blood leaves the heart. So that you want a high percentage as possible. Now I think my previous echocardiogram was in the 70s, you know, maybe it was 71, 75% ejection fraction, which according to the doctor, like, okay, that's great, that's perfect, that's normal. Back then, I had an echocardiogram and all this cardiovascular testing done about 3 years ago, which I've been doing steroids for around 9 years. So that was 6 years after I started steroids. And after I did all of my most extreme experiments. Remember, most of my extreme bodybuilding experiments were in the first 6 years. Like I've been a lot more cautious since the last 3 years. So I wouldn't expect anything worse to have happened to my heart in the last 3 years. But my previous echocardiogram was flawless. The doctor said, wow, your heart's perfect. And I actually did that echocardiogram for the Enhanced 2 movie because we had the other doctor on the other side saying that bodybuilders are all going to die from heart attacks from using all this research chemicals and steroids. And then we had me on the other side who was blasting and so, you know, people say abusing steroids for 6 years with 0 side effects.
Worauf will er jetzt hinaus? Was hat er jetzt den Unterschied gemacht? Bestimmt irgendwas, was weniger den Körper übersäuert. Kid.
Back then, were you taking the myostatin, like the pharmaceutical things?
Everything. I experimented with that. Those were the old days. It was like I was rotating between experimenting with, I was experimenting with like follistatin and ACE and every peptide, and you know, and then I do a video. I do experiment on myself and then do a video about it. I mean, the difference is I wasn't blasting myself all the time with high dosages of chemistry. I was experimenting. So I used all the different types of chemistry in short periods of time at high dosage to see what the benefits were and the side effects were to my body. So no heart damage from 6 years of doing that. And the doctor said, yeah, you know, the bodybuilders taking steroids and damaging their heart is like overestimated like that. He's like, we don't usually see that in steroid users as much as we see it in just extreme athletes in general. Like a natural athlete that's pushing their heart to the limit every day, whether it's cycling or running, he's like, that's when we see it. Not because of the steroids as the primary cause. But I mean, of course, combine the two. Combine pushing your heart to the limit and taking all the steroids. And then, of course, not managing your blood pressure and your blood glucose. And, of course, then you have a recipe for heart attack and heart disease. I'm not saying that these compounds are safe and that because I had no side effects from them that anybody could do it and not have side effects. I also have a very healthy diet, and I take a lot of health supplements that offsets a lot of the potential damage that steroids could do to my heart. So back to the echocardiogram was perfect 3 years ago. Then I just get this echocardiogram now, and it comes back, I have mitral valve prolapse, and the doctor looks at it and she's like, you know, this is pretty concerning. Like, I don't know what you did to your heart, but later I would research and find that maybe I broke one of the tendons that holds the valve. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm used to being able to fix everything in my body with chemistry. Like, there's almost no disease.
Boah, irgendwie.
Or problem in the body that I haven't at one time fixed.
Schon ein bisschen Philosophielerei hier.
Figured out a solution for fixing with chemistry outside of Western medicine, unless there's like a mechanical breakage. Like if you tear a bicep and the tendon rips off, well, the chemistry won't cause the tendon to reattach. You have to have the surgeon reattach the tendon, and then we can use the chemistry to heal and make the tendon stronger and recover faster. See? So what my fear is that with the echocardiogram and the mitral valve prolapse, is that the tendon actually ruptured in my heart. And I can actually feel this. Like every time I can actually feel my heartbeat. Like I can sit here and I can be like,
Also hat er ein beschädigtes Tendon. Das ist so wie so Gelenk, ne? So ein beweglicher Apparat, was so da drin beschädigt ist im Herz scheinbar.
I don't know, can everybody do that? Can you feel your heartbeat in your chest? Like just sitting and feeling it? If you just focus? So I could feel it.
I think I'd have to be really mindful. Like just going
It's
back
possible,
every day.
though.
It's possible.
So maybe I'm just really mindful, or maybe I'm paranoid, or maybe I'm a hypochondriac about it. But I was feeling all this pressure go in, and they tell me mitral valve prolapse, left. So the ejection fraction was 59%. So I go online and I research. At 59% with mitral valve prolapse, they say you are a candidate for surgery. You can have they can go in and they can repair the valve. You know, they can stitch it together or whatever, wherever the leakage is or wherever the bending is, they can fix it.
Boah, ich sag ehrlich, ne, nächstes Mal, ich glaube, ich lasse dich von den Chica massieren nächstes Mal. Wenn ich nächste Reaction so mache, das ist mit so alles extra dafür, so das zu machen. Junge, ja.
They can fix where the tendon is, but that's a pretty invasive surgery. Or you can get a whole new valve put in. But if you get a whole new valve put in your heart, then your body could have an autoimmune reaction to it and blood clotting, and so then you have to be on blood thinners the rest of your life and anticoagulants so that your body doesn't have a reaction to the foreign valve that's not part of your body. I mean, the future of medical technology would be to take your own cells and stem cells and build a valve that your body recognizes as being bioidentical to your own, right? But they're not quite there yet. I think with some organs, they're getting closer to that. That's going to be the future. So in the future, it's not going to be a problem. You have a mitral valve prolapse, you go in, they grow you another valve using your own tissue, and they slap it in there, and no problem, right? I mean, we're getting that. So that's what I'm actually thinking about these things. I'm thinking, God,
Oh, der Philosophierboss hier.
if I've got a leaky valve, the problem is it's going to keep getting worse and worse over time. Like, it's never going to get better. If it's a mechanical defect, then it's broken, and it's never going to get better. So I'm thinking, how did this mitral valve prolapse happen? Well, I am now realizing how important blood pressure is to cardiovascular health and bodybuilding. Blood pressure is everything. And guess what? Blood sugar is everything. Now, I didn't manage my blood sugar good when I was younger because I was eating as much as I possibly could to gain weight, which is not healthy. It would have been much healthier for me to use steroids than to overeat as much as I did to try to gain muscle. So my regret...
Ja, das ist jetzt so einer der krassesten Standards von so Videos über so diese Themen mit Bodybuilding. Also, da finde ich jetzt die Videos mit Alexander jetzt immer geiler, ja. Mit so, yo, du Hu und so. Ja, viel besser.
As I started steroids at age 30, and I went age 21 to age 30, so 9 years of making no progress in the gym because I already reached my natural potential at age 21, and yet I was still eating so much food, which is not healthy, and I was still training so hard, damaging my shoulders and my elbows and my joints, and spending all this time in the gym where I could have just taken a little bit of steroids, like a healthy cycle, and built more muscle and been low maintenance and had the same physique I had with, in my opinion, being a lot healthier, using performance-enhancing drugs than doing it naturally from age 21 to 39. Now, it was healthier for me to build it naturally until age 21, until I reached my natural potential, of course. But after your natural potential, then you're pushing your body in unnatural ways to gain unnatural amounts of muscle, but you're fighting nature, and you have to push your body so hard with the training and the diet that that's also not healthy. Healthier to use chemistry, in my opinion. So it would have been healthier for me to manage my blood sugar, and that would also prevent a lot of potential heart issues and prevent plaque buildup. And just with Steve in the gym, and Steve said I have to be careful not to aggravate the left ventricle hypertrophy, which is what steroids do, because that can...
Ja, das ist jetzt hier schon Ende von Video. Also, der Philosophierboss hat hier gephilosophiert. Sagt so Tony Hutch, das ist ja jetzt so krass interessant. Ich habe vieles von ihm so gefeiert, aber das Video war für mich ein bisschen viel Quasselei so, ne?
exacerbate the mitral valve prolapse. So he said to avoid things like DECA and cabergoline, which is one of my favorite. I have to research more about the risk of cabergoline causing left ventricle hypertrophy because.
Ja, gibt es noch Bromagon, ne, als Prolaktinsenker. Ja, B6, P5P könnte man noch nehmen, wenn er das deswegen nimmt. Er wahrscheinlich deswegen hat er schon oft gesagt.
It's one of my favorite supplements because it increases dopamine, makes me feel happier, most importantly, massively improve my sexual performance.
Ja. Friends, schreibt mir gerne so Instagram-DMs, ne, was ich so als nächstes als Reaction stellen wollte, das polarisierende Thema, was ich so drauf mal meinen Senf abgebe und so, ja, Senf war lecker und so. Und ja, dann sehen wir uns beim nächsten Video wieder. Schön teilen, abonnieren und gebt Liebe. Ich gebe euch auch Liebe. Ciao.